Hi friends, welcome to our show. So today it is the 47th episode in the history series. So today we are going to discuss the origins of the country of Russia, how it even became so big, so humongous as it is now. So this is the timeline of the Russian history, how it all went on So first Russia was established in 1862 AD and finally we are there. Yes, 862 AD, sorry, it is not 18. So 862 AD to present day Russia is still there. So Russia was first formed on 862 AD. So let's start with these points. So first in the year 862 AD, the establishment of the Rus state and the Rurik dynasty. So a person called Rurik, who was like a Rus, that means like some Scandinavian rovers. They will just go on boats and just go somewhere. So he established the state called as the Rus state. Yes. So this was in 862 AD. So his dynasty would live for many years. So more than 100 years. So he established the Rurik dynasty as well, not just the Rus state. So next, exactly 20 years later, on 882 AD, there was the seizing of Kiev. So at that time the state was known as the Rus state and was centered around the city of Novgorod in Upper Russia, northern Russia. So now the son of the Rurik to seize the Kiev, which is the present day capital of Ukraine, making the new capital of the Kievan Rus Kiev. So at the time it was changed to Kievan Rus, the name. Yes. So next, 100 years later, on 998 AD, just 2 years before 1000 AD, these Russians adopted Christianity. At the time, it was still not Russians, but Kiev Russians. Yes, new type of Russians. Yes. So next 200 years later, from 1237 to 1240, the Mongols came and they invaded all of Russia and large parts of Europe as well. Yes, even extending to Poland. Yes. So at the time Russia wasn't that much powerful, so they were easily beaten and they were turned into a puppet/vassal state, and they had to give these Mongols a lot of money, like taxes. So just 2 years later, successfully the Mongols empire collapsed into the Golden Horde and many other states. But here the Golden Horde was in like the Russia area. So it had control over all of the other provinces in the Kievan Rus at that time. So at the time, the Kievan Rus was like a confederacy with many other almost independent states inside of it. So one of them was Muscovy, or the Grand Duchy of Moscow. So after the Mongols attacked, it was kept as a separate puppet state. So next, on 1480 AD, almost 250 years later, the Grand Duchy of Moscow, or just Muscovy, became sovereign from the Golden Horde. So these guys were like expanding because of their fur trade with many other European powers, and at the time fur was very important. Yes. So they rise higher and higher until they stopped giving taxes to the hordes, and they made a coalition against them and they got their independence. Yes, so this was the sovereign state of the Grand Duchy of Moscow, completely independent. Yes, no relation with the hordes. Yes. So next, 1547 AD. So this Grand Duchy of Moscow was changed into the Tsardom of Russia. So it has a king-like figure called a Tsar. Yes. So next, 1598 AD, it was the end of the Rurik dynasty, and it led Russia into total anarchy. This time period was known as the time of trouble. Yes, many bad things happened at the time. And then 15 years later, finally the period of troubles ended with a new dynasty this time. The Rurik dynasty finally ended. Yes. So yeah. Next, in 1721 AD, the name was changed again. So at that time, like there were some wars that were happening in the Nordic side. So at this time, so after the Russians won, they changed the name of the country or the empire from the Tsardom of Russia to the Russian Empire. Yes. So yeah, this occurred on 1721 AD. As well as St. Petersburg is a bit more now. So these Russians also annexed Finland. That means they are a bit more protective of their land, and also the Baltic states. That means they can have St. Petersburg as their capital. So, they had St. Petersburg as their capital only. Yes. So next, on 1861 AD, it was the end of the serfdom by Alexander II. So at the time, the king Alexander II ended the serfdom system. So it was like between the slaves and their owners. It was a system between them. But finally, in 1861, it was abolished. Yes, but slavery was still not abolished. It was exactly not like slavery. Yes, but somewhat like slavery, but again not slavery. Yes. So these slave-like people were called as serfs. Yes. So next, from 1906 to 1914 AD, the Stolypin reforms were done. So these were some agricultural reforms in the country. Yes. So and another thing, at that time Russia was severely lacking in technology. So many revolutions were ready to start, like the revolutions of 1905 and 1908. So this would lead another thing which would happen in a few years. So next, on 1914 AD, Russia joined WW1, World War I. So with this, the economic breakdown started in Russia. So the economy severely break down. Yes. So, and finally on 1917 AD, the Russian Revolution started, and Russia finally surrendered in the war. Yes. So this was against the monarchy of the Russian Empire versus the Bolsheviks of the communists who formed the Soviet Union later. Yes. So next, from 1917 to 1922 AD, the Russian Civil War occurred. Yes, the war between the Bolsheviks, which were the communists, and the other Wiks. I don't remember their names. I think Monashiks. They were the other non-Bolsheviks. So the Bolsheviks were the communists, and they won the war. Yes. So they were also known as the Red Army. Yes. So yeah, and finally in 1922 AD, the states of Soviet Russia, Soviet Ukraine, Soviet Belarus, and Transcaucasia united together to form the Soviet Union, or the USSR. Yes. So yeah, and yeah. Next, at that time also, Soviet Russia had the states in Central Asia like Kazakhstan and those stands. Yes. So next, on 1939 AD, the partition of Poland and Baltic states between Germany and Russia occurred, which led to World War II. Yes. So yeah. Next, on 1941 AD, 2 years later, before that they had a non-aggression treaty with the Germans. So but then the Germans broke the treaty, tore the treaty of the non-aggression, and they attacked Russia. They attacked deep into the Russian territory. But one of the important battles at that time, the Battle of Stalingrad, just pushed all of the Germans away because it was the winter and there's literally everybody starving. Yes, so the Germans were just, bye-bye, I'm going to back. They're running away from the Soviets. And finally, in 1945 AD, the capture of Berlin and the surrender of Germany occurred. Yes. So with this, the World War II went to an end. Yes. So next, in 1947 AD, the Cold War starts. Yes, the Cold War. At that time, allies, just 2 years before allies, now are enemies. How? Just 2 years time. So yeah. Next, in 1955, the creation of the Warsaw Pact occurred. Like, it is an alliance between Russia, the Soviet Union, Poland, next Romania, some other countries were also involved. So next, in 1991, so 3 main things occurred at the time for Russia. They were the dissolution of the Warsaw Pact, the dissolution of the Soviet Union, as well as the suppression of Russia from the Soviet Union. And one little fun fact, that is, Kazakhstan was the whole Soviet Union for 4 whole days. Yes, that is very fun for them. And finally, the third thing that happened in that year is the Cold War finally ended. Yes, so after many years. And finally, the next year, the creation of the CSTO occurred. The CSTO is the Collective Security Treaty Organization. It is just like NATO, or like the Warsaw Pact, which was also like a organization, security organization. Yes, it is like the successor of the Warsaw Pact. Yes. And finally, from 2014 to present, there is the Russo-Ukrainian war. So you may have think, but 2 wars happened, right? So yeah, so that is not true. So in 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, at least not fully, but they did annex, I think. Yes, they thought they annexed it, so but it was not fully recognized by all countries. Yes. So then it was like a stalemate between the countries. So and finally in 2022, the war re-erupted, and it is still occurring to now. It has been 1 year since the war started already. Yes. So this is for today about the origins of Russia, as well as the history of Russia. Bye.